Mr. Nice's dress shop. Yeah, this one is really about Howard Marks, who is again a very well-known character. If you're from Oxford, most people, at least in circles that I know, most people kind of at least know a little bit about him. He was known as Mr. Nice. That's the name of his biography. And yeah, I just think it'd be good to just start by reading a little extract from that. A Philippine brothel owning member of the House of Lords was staying at the house of a Spanish chief inspector of police. The Lord was being watched by an American CIA operative who was staying at the house of an English convicted sex offender. The CIA operative was sharing accommodation with an IRA terrorist. The IRA terrorist was discussing a Moroccan hashish deal with a Georgian pilot of Colombia's Medellin cartel. Organising these scenarios was an ex-MI6 agent currently supervising the sale of 30 tons of Thai cannabis in Canada, and whose house could be found and at whose house could be found Pakistan's major supplier of hashish. Attempting to understand the scenarios was a solitary DEA agent. The stage was set for something. Yeah, the ex-MI6 agent mentioned in that passage of writing is Howard Marks, uh, aka Mr. Nice. Um, he was someone that grew up in a kind of quite a deprived town in Wales, Bridgend. Yeah, grew up to go to the University of Oxford. He did. I think he dropped out quite early on. I'm not sure he finished his course, but he stayed in the city, and yeah, made some connections that really helped him with traveling internationally and crossing borders without too much documentation or too much checks on baggage and things like that. He was clearly kind of a bridge, a very good networker, someone who could connect people, and ended up doing that on a global scale. So you can just tell from that passage I read the amount of connections that he had. He was working in countries or in cities all over the world, Tokyo to Kabul to Dublin to Washington DC, working with organizations like the CIA, MI6, the IRA, Medellin cartel. You know, it's not often that you hear those kind of those organizations mentioned in the same breath in terms of someone working for all of them or with all of them. So yeah, a real character. The location that I wanted to kind of pin to his story was this dress shop that rumor has it that this was a dress shop that he owned and that he had his offices above, and yeah, he kind of, it was almost a bit of a front for his illegal businesses. He also operated on the fringes of the law a lot. A business where people could hire secretaries, which has been, people have wondered whether it was secretaries or a different kind of exchange that was being had there. He went on to become a campaigner who advocated for the legalization of cannabis. I think partly because he stood to make quite a bit of money out of that, if with the connections that he had. I think this story is an important one to tell because it kind of, it shows that Oxford is such an international city. It's a city that's linked with pretty much every other city in the world in some way, and those connections aren't always used in a legal way or in a way that's kind of benefit to a lot of people. I think quite often the connections that people make through being in Oxford, being at the university, they can actually be exploited in ways that are unfair and disingenuous, nefarious, all of those kind of words. Um, so I think, yeah, this is an example of how, those links and connections can be abused and used for kind of personal gain, really. Yeah, I mean, from what I've learned about Howard Marks, he was he was quite a charming character, quite a lovable character. I think a lot of people liked him. You know, I guess didn't get the nickname Mr. Nice for no reason. Um, but also, you know, been looking beneath that, the trade that he was involved in probably exploited a lot of people, probably caused a lot of misery, you know, violence, death, all of those sort of things. So I guess maybe as a bit of a metaphor for Oxford, you know, it can look nice on the surface, can look charming and romantic on the surface, but actually you scratch a little deeper and you can see actually there's a lot of harm being done um, to people kind of outside the immediate visual range, you know.